Karen cheated on her husband, Danny. She loved him, but she felt old and wanted to make sure that men still found her attractive. Bradley Martin gave Karen the attention she wanted, and she rewarded him with sex. Just sex, no love. How did Karen get caught, you ask? It was a traffic violation. A camera caught her speeding and photographed Karen's head on Bradley's lap. Danny got the ticket, saw the photo, and that was the end of their marriage. At first, my daughter Debbie was candid. "Mom, he's depressed." Karen cried when she told me that he didn't leave the house except to go to work. After a while, Debbie stopped telling her mother about her father. "You're not married anymore," she told me. "He doesn't ask me about you, so I shouldn't intrude on his personal life by telling you about him. Mom, you missed your chance to be in his life when you did that." Karen asked how Danny was doing. She hoped Danny would give her another chance. That was her wish. One day, Karen received some encouraging news from my daughter. "Mom, I wish we could all get together sometimes. I'm so tired of my kids only being able to visit one set of grandparents. It would be so much easier to decide who to visit and when if we all acted like adults." Karen began to realize that Debbie and her family were spending more time with Danny than she was. Karen hardly ever saw Debbie, her husband, or her grandchildren, but Danny seemed to see them often. Karen finally got what she had been dreaming of for 3 years while they were apart. "Mom, do you want to spend the weekend at Dad's lake house?" Karen had always loved that place. "Do you think he'll mind if we go there?" Karen asked my daughter. Mom, he'll be there, and he knows we asked you to come with us." Karen sank to her knees and began to cry. "He wanted to see me." "Mom, calm down. Selena and I decided it was time to reunite the family," she said. "Who the hell is Selena?" Karen wanted to say, but all that came out was, "Selena who?" "Selena from Dad," Karen's daughter replied. "You'll like her." How could I like her? Karen thought. Karen's revenge. As Debbie and I drove home after our disastrous visit to Danny's new family, I couldn't believe how she was talking to me. "This is all my fault, Mom. You have no right to be upset. You cheated on Dad, remember? So you think it's okay to take me there and bam! Just throw it in my face that Danny is married and has 2 adopted children, and my grandchildren call her Grandma? Well, Mom, what did you think they were going to call her?" "Well, not Grandma. I'm their grandmother. And you think it's okay for them to call me Old Grandma for God's sake?" They looked so cozy, my daughter, her husband, and my grandchildren, surrounded by Danny's new family, whom I knew nothing about, and they thought I should just accept it. And the house on the lake. When we bought it, it was just a little cottage on the lake. We used it once or twice a year, and it had hardly any furniture. I loved that little cottage on the lake. But now it's been renovated and it's huge and beautiful. Danny never thought about anything like that when we were married. I spent 3 years of my life hoping that I had a chance to get back together with my ex-husband. And my daughter, she caught me off guard when she brought me to meet Danny. Surprise! It's just disrespectful. I didn't do anything to deserve this. My daughter and grandchildren are spending their vacation with Danny's new family instead of with me. And why didn't my daughter tell me that Danny was married so that I could move on too? It's not like I have a busy life. Between my divorce and the meager alimony I get from Danny, I'm barely making ends meet. You'd think my daughter would be there for me when I need her. No, and the only reason she brought me to Danny's house on the lake was because she was tired of the inconvenience. It would be so much easier to choose who to visit and when if we all acted like adults. To hell with her, her husband Danny, and his wife Selena. We sat in silence for most of the drive home. Debbie chatted, but I didn't care what she said. Everything was wrong, and it was all my fault. She tried to say goodbye, but I just slammed the car door and walked away. That night, I slept better than I expected. Yes, I fell asleep in tears, but that was the last time I cried over my failed marriage. No more self-pity. I made myself a delicious breakfast and a cup of coffee. After breakfast, I took a shower, got dressed, left the house, and went to the gym. It was time to get my chest and butt in shape and get back on the market. I worked out with a trainer who showed me all the machines. I told him what I wanted to achieve, and we made a workout plan for me. I spent the rest of Sunday walking around my apartment and throwing out junk food, but not the peanut M&Ms. A girl needs chocolate. Then I went shopping. I bought healthy food, yogurt, salad, fish, and other healthy foods. When I put everything away, I made myself something to eat. I scolded myself for throwing out all the junk food, but I knew it would be worth it in the end. Then I sat down to the stack of files I had saved. It's a good thing I don't throw anything away. Did my daughter call to see how I was doing? No, but I wasn't expecting her to, and I wouldn't have answered anyway. Monday came quickly. I went straight to Brad's office. Brad. Hi, Karen. How's Danny? Bad. He got married and has 2 adopted children. He got married and has kids? What? Brad was as confused as I was. Yes, I'm done with Danny, my daughter, and her husband. They can all go to hell. And Brad, I want revenge on Danny and I'm going to sue John. Karen, calm down. What's going on? Brad, sleeping with you was a mistake. I don't hold it against you, but I never thought I'd lose Danny. I never thought I'd get caught. If I had been caught, I thought Danny's love for me would be enough for him to forgive me. I loved Danny so much and wanted him to take me back. Brad, I just agreed to everything in the divorce settlement. I didn't listen to my lawyer and didn't answer half his questions. Karen, calm down and explain what you mean. Once the agreement is signed, it's final. Brad, Danny, and I bought a small cottage by the lake when we were married. We only went there once or twice a year. When Danny left me, he lived there and I lived in our house, waiting for it to be sold. After the divorce, we sold the house and split the money 50-50. But Danny continued to live in the lake house. It was never included in the list of assets to be sold. I didn't bring it up because I just wanted Danny back. Now that little lake house looks beautiful and is worth a fortune. Karen, are you sure it wasn't on the property list and you didn't give it to Danny? Number. Here are all the documents. Danny wanted me to suffer, I'm sure of it. And it wasn't just Danny. I was being cheated at work, and in more ways than one. As soon as the divorce was finalized, I was sent to the stenography department. It was my punishment, but John, that bastard, set me up. Karen, we both know that John was a jerk and only cared about himself and his firm. Calm down and tell me what you're talking about. My alimony, Brad. My alimony was pennies because John, that jerk, demoted me to stenographer after the court set the alimony based on my higher salary as a paralegal. I could barely pay my rent. Thank God you found me a job here and got me away from John. I always wondered why Danny never sued John. He broke our non-hostility agreement and everyone knew about us. Now Brad understood. Or at least John didn't make him enforce it, Brad said. I think John convinced Danny that he would take care of us. Danny beat me and John fired me. You were demoted, your salary was cut, your pension was cut, and your alimony was reduced to pennies. Brad called his promising, successful, and twisted lawyer to join us at Brad's office. Scott, I need you to work with Karen, I interrupted him. And stop staring at my blouse, you little pervert. As I was saying, Brad continued, I need you to listen to Karen's story and come back to me with ideas on how we can... I interrupted Brad. Get my ex-husband and sue that bastard John. That little pervert Scott turned out to be a surprisingly good lawyer. We spent time together and he convinced me not to quit the gym. Of course he did. The little pervert loved my body. It seemed that this MILF hadn't lost her appeal yet. No, I didn't sleep with him, at least not yet. I had learned my lesson, and that was enough. I also didn't sleep with Brad. If I even hugged Brad, his ex would have him fire me. Brad's life was even more miserable than mine. She would never take Brad back. But Brad couldn't accept that. He continued to do everything she asked. I no longer sat at home every weekend, but I didn't have a serious boyfriend yet. I went out to dinner, danced, went to concerts, and had sex. My life was good and could only get better. It had been about 6 months since I met Danny's new family. I had talked to Debbie twice. Each time I hung up. "You need to start acting like an adult," she told me. To hell with her. It had been about 6 months since I met Danny's new family. I had spoken to Debbie twice. Each time I hung up. "You need to start acting like an adult," she told me. Forget about her. The big day had arrived. John was downstairs, and I was going to get my revenge. "Hello, John," Brad said. I just looked at John but didn't say anything. "Brad, why am I here?" "I was told it was important," John asked. "John, would you like my secretary to bring you a bottle of water, a cup of coffee, or maybe something stronger?" Brad asked. "What's going on, Brad?" "Scott, tell John why he's here." Scott was young but looked confident as he looked at John. "John, this is your only chance to make amends to Karen for the damage she suffered, or we're sending this letter." He handed it across the table to John. "To the Bar Association's Ethics Committee. We'll also send a letter to the local newspaper. John, your reputation and the reputation of your firm in this community will never be the same." "Brad, what game are you playing?" John asked. "Read it," I said. "I know what you and Danny did to me to keep him from suing you, you bastard. You fired Brad and practically left me homeless. You're a fucking bastard." I wanted to jump across the table and beat him up. "Stop, Karen. Let John read the letter," Brad said. "You can't give this to the court. It will destroy me, and what proof do you have?" "Oh, John, women love to gossip," Scott said. "What do you mean, gossip?" John asked, looking nervous. "John, we've been interviewing your employees for months. You know your employees hate you, don't you?" "And what exactly did they tell you?" John asked. Scott spoke again. He opened a folder containing a stack of pages with statements. He had precedents to back up his position. Scott calculated how much money I had lost in alimony, salary, and benefits. John was sweating when Scott handed him the tables. "This is absurd, Brad," John said. "These are all rumors. They won't hold up in court." "John," Scott said with a broad smile, "you have two options. 1. We settle out of court for $8 million plus our fees. Or 2. We see you in court." "I need time to think," John said. "You have time until you walk out the door. My secretary has a copy of the letter to the Ethics Commission in a FedEx package with prepared testimony that can be mailed. Either I get a signed agreement or it goes out," said my new best friend and future sex toy Scott. "Karen, we were so close. How could you do this to me?" "Yes, John, we were close, but you only thought about yourself and financially ruined me to save your own skin. So go to hell." "Oh, and John," Brad said, "while you have the pen in your hand, sign this." "What's this?" John asked. "It's an agreement to pay me $2 million, Brad said with a smile. "For what?" "I had every right to fire you." "I agree, John, but my career hasn't been particularly successful since you filed that complaint with the Ethics Commission, which resulted in a reprimand. So the agreement with Karen includes $2 million for me as well." John signed both agreements, and $8 million was transferred to my account. Was it excessive? Perhaps. But John's firm had grown over the past 3 years, and a lawsuit against it was the last thing he needed. I thought Scott was dreaming when he told me my compensation would be $8 million. But that little bastard did it. Scott had done his homework. He knew more about John's firm and the potential client than Brad or I did. This new client would not allow his legal advisor to be portrayed in a negative light. A settlement was in John's best interest and was his only way out. "Get me $8 million, you pervert, and you can have me all week." That's what I told him. I could see that little pervert undressing me with his eyes. You've heard of the father complex. This pervert had a mother complex. Or maybe he just liked milk. Danny was next. But before we went after Danny, I went to Brad and asked for unpaid leave, which Brad happily agreed to. I wasn't sure if I wanted to leave or keep working now that I was rich. Then I went to HR and said that I was single, just like Scott, and that I was going to sleep with him. HR was shocked, but I didn't care. What could they do? Fire me? Little pervert Scott was the most shocked of all. A deal is a deal. I may be over 50, but I was going to shake up the world of this little pervert. Now it was Danny's turn and my dear daughter Debbie's. Donnie's ex-wife represented John's daughter Laura, so Brad and Scott explained to her how important it was for Danny to sit down and talk to us. Now she knew what her father John had done to me, and she apologized. They told her that I was devastated by the divorce and that it was affecting my work. John made it sound like he had done me a favor. Instead of firing me, he demoted me. That fucking bastard. Knowing what had happened and that John had agreed to a settlement, she convinced Danny to meet with us instead of waiting for the court summons. Danny showed up with Laura and my daughter Debbie on either side of him. "What's going on, Mom?" Debbie was the first to lash out at me. Then Danny. "Why am I here?" Then my backup singer, Scott, spoke up. "Everyone calm down. We want to settle all our issues amicably." "Like adults," I said, looking at Debbie. "Yes, like adults," Scott agreed. "Thank you, Karen." "Laura," Scott said, "take a look at these documents." Laura glanced at them and turned to Danny. "Is this true, Danny?" "What is it?" asked Danny and Debbie. "It's the deed to the lake house that belongs to Danny and Karen." I couldn't hold my tongue any longer. "Danny, I'll leave you homeless if you don't do what I ask." "Mom, what's going on?" My sweet daughter was now worried. Scott took the initiative. "We had the lake house appraised, and it's now worth $1,800,000. "And?" Danny asked. Laura intervened and started whispering to Danny, but I interrupted her. "I'm moving into my house, Danny. We'll have so much fun," I said with a big smile on my face. "Over my dead body," Danny replied. "Whatever you want," I replied. "Can she do that?" he asked, looking at Laura. "You can buy her out." "I don't have that kind of money," I laughed at Danny's comment. "I have enough money to buy you out, Danny. I'll kick you and your happy family out, but I'm sure my daughter will take you in." "There's still the issue of child support," Scott said. "I've been paying child support for 3 years," Danny said, looking unhappy. "Danny," I said in a normal tone, "we can work something out, and I'll let you keep the lake house if you don't mind. And Debbie, you'll have to agree to some conditions too." Scott handed each of them a copy of his agreement, and Laura copies of both agreements. Danny looked miserable, and Debbie looked confused. "We want everyone to sign and follow all the instructions while we're all here," Scott said. I handed them pens and laughed at them. "Mom, what do you mean? Your daughter needs to hear the story of how her father tried to destroy her mother. What's going on? And can we talk about these holidays?" "Danny, are you going to sign the agreement and tell your daughter what a cruel father you were to her mother?" I smiled broadly. "And you, Debbie, what holidays don't work for you?" I asked. "You want the kids to be with you for all the holidays? What about their father?" "You're right. That's cruel of me. Dad can see his granddaughters on Thanksgiving, but Grandma will be with them on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. We'll celebrate at my house." "Mom, you have a small apartment." "Not anymore. Soon I might have a house on the lake." I couldn't stop laughing. "I don't see Easter," my daughter said in an unpleasant tone. "I left that holiday to you so you could see your husband's family. See how nice I am." 2 weeks in the summer," my daughter complained, continuing to read. "Mom, you live in an apartment." "First of all, I have my own house on the lake and a beautiful boat, and if Danny doesn't sign the papers, I'll have a second house on the lake. But that doesn't matter. I'll take my grandchildren and we'll have a wonderful time together." "Where did you get all that money?" My daughter looked very confused. "Danny, tell Debbie the whole story, and Laura will explain to her why her mother is now rich as hell." "Rich," said Danny. "Hell no. Sign it and tell Debbie what you did to me." Tell her how you cheated me, or I'll buy you out and the lake house will be mine. Danny told Debbie the whole story, and she finally got mad at her father instead of me. How could you do that, Dad? I know you were angry, but that was cruel. By signing the agreement, Danny agreed to pay me $800 a month in alimony for the next 3 years. It was petty of me. To hell with him. Danny, I loved you and I regretted what I did. I just wanted to show you how sorry I was, but you didn't give me a chance. You just tried to ruin my life. Because of you and John, I lived in a shithole. I was on food stamps until Brad hired me. I had to take a deep breath and calm down. Even now, Danny, I still love you. But it's over between us and I know I have to move on. Danny was angrier now than when I cheated on him. He couldn't say anything. I walked over to the table and Danny stood up and hugged me. Why? Because it was part of the agreement he had signed. I will always love you, Danny, I repeated, reaching out my hand. Danny gave me the keys to his new Mustang. That was the last condition of the agreement. I got Danny's Mustang, but he had to continue paying for it and the insurance. Go on, Scott. Get in the driver's seat, I said, throwing the keys to Scott. It's time for us to get the first of many speeding tickets.